my takeaway from it is that I recommend everyone getting like some kind of entrepreneurial experience out of the way early and just like learning as much as they can from that experience, but not necessarily like feeling like it has to be a big success. Like our experience was not a huge success, but that doesn't mean that I didn't learn a ton that I used for successes later. So we had our initial funding from YC, and then they had the start fund going on at that time, which was like an extra 150K on top of YC. At that point was only like 20K of funding or something like that. Obviously it's totally different now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was at that time. That was how they started. And then it ran that way for a while, probably until after PG left. Paul Graham was still like actively running YC at that time. So we got to spend a bunch of time with him, which was like incredible. And we had a small team. So we had two co-founders, it was three of us. We were like the kind of core team. And then we had, I guess, two additional employees that we brought on by the time we decided to kind of sell and wind down the company. We only really worked on it for maybe like 9 months or so after YC actually ended. So it was about a year all in. And, we built a product. We had like tens of thousands of users. We had some elements of product market fit. So we had some revenue, but it was all like relatively small. We were like 19 or 20 years old, all of us. And we were sort of like, we don't really know what we're doing. We're not sure that this is like working that well. Like we're probably not growing fast enough, as fast as we would need to like raise more funding. And I think all of us were not as confident about the idea as we would have wanted to have been to like raise a lot more funding. Mm-hmm. So we just decided to like, okay, we actually sold to a competitor of ours that was another YC company that had pivoted to sort of like directly competing with us, and they had raised a bunch of money, and we sold to them. Origami, they were called. And so we sort of like wound it down by selling it to them, which was
wow.
Yeah, which was the right. It was like a great like answer for us, as opposed to like continuing to beat our heads against the wall when we weren't like super excited about what we were building, basically.
That's interesting.
And then we sort of did that and then picked up.
Not to make this like a whole founder thing, but it is really interesting because there's always this trade-off of, do you keep pushing and try to get to PMF, or do you like cut your losses? And if you have taken money, like I think there is some obligation to whoever gave you money, to some fiduciary responsibility to not blow it up if you know it's not going to work. And in today's world, maybe now it's changing, but for the last 5 years, everyone that's raised money has been told like, keep doing a bridge. Like you have to go for the moonshot. You see everything on Twitter. So pretty respectable that you were, self-aware, number one. And two, I just wonder, what was that decision like to kind of call it quits?
Yeah, we were sort of like, we definitely, we still had most of our money in the bank from YC and a few angels that we had raised from after YC. And we also were able to sell the company for some money. And so we did return almost all the money back to our investors. And we felt like that was like a little bit of a scratch, it wasn't like a win or like a huge loss. We were like, learned a lot, validated this idea, worked on it for about a year, decided that we didn't like need to keep going and try to raise more money. So let's just let's operate with enough integrity here that our investors hopefully would want to back us again in the future with whatever we do next. So that was sort of how I was thinking about it. And luckily we were able to like find a buyer for the company that kept operating it and gave us, paid out to us, which ultimately just went directly back to our investors. Right. But that was a better outcome than just like, as you said, continuing to burn through what we had and winding it down at nothing.
Respect.